What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another live Thursday night tuning show. All of my fellow tuners, what's up? It's Thursday. There ain't nothing going. Oh, right, that's right. We got a new Typhoon. You guys see that? You guys like that? What's everybody think? Hey, Jason. Hey, Mobile Mechanic. What's going on, guys? Hey, Schmidt. It's raining, which is a change. It's not snowing. It's washing the roads off. Hey, LS. I'm not going to complain about the rain. Let's get those roads cleaned up, man. How do I turn the volume down on this thing? Technical difficulties. Mute. There we go. What am I missing? Oh, yeah. So excited about the Typhoon. ICT car guy. Is this where I can get assistance for my popcorn tune? Sure, man. For you, anything. What up, Andrew? Mr. Dominguez, what's going on? What's the subject today? The subject today is whatever subjects you guys want to talk about. We can talk about the Typhoon a little bit. I can give you an idea of what's going on there. What up, funny? So I got back. Cruise control died halfway through the trip. Of course, it's vacuum operated. This thing still had the factory vacuum lines on it. So 29-year-old plastic vacuum lines, brittle, broke. Had an overboost problem also. Same ordeal. Vacuum lines, brittle, broke. Sorry, Chevy for life. You just waved. Didn't you see me wave back? So we put new vacuum lines on. Of course, put the Mega Squirt on it. And after that video, I got everything idling good and driving good, except we're getting into ignition cut. So the ignition cut's probably old stuff too. I've got some stuff to pick up tomorrow to replace about everything. Either that or the spark plugs aren't gapped correctly. WS6, I didn't even see you. Bro, I was in Georgia for 10 minutes. I landed, got in a car, and drove home. Yeah. Well, the overboost was happening because it has a 2-bar map sensor from the factory, and it was making more than 14 psi boost. So now that the Mega Squirt's in it, it's making 20 psi boost. Should have bought a Ford. We'd been there, done that. But yeah, as I said, it's raining today, so I didn't really do much. I started installing the new stereo in it, which I normally don't do stereos really, but I ponied up for one of these Android tablet stereos only because you can wirelessly, connect it to the Mega Squirt and then put your gauges up on the stereo so we can basically see all of our gauges on the stereo. Dale Soul, how does the Patreon work? Basically, you sign up, you ask questions. We've got 2 tiers. We've got the basic tier, the 20. Well, technically, we've got 3 tiers. We got the $5 tier, which is the support tier. That's just people that want to help out. Then we've got the $25 tier. That is people that need assistance. And there's email assistance. Send me your questions, your data logs, your tunes. We'll get you sorted out. And then there's one-on-ones. That's $75 for the people that's wanting a little more information, a little more in-depth walkthrough stuff. And essentially, whenever you sign up for that, you get access to a calendar that lets you reserve slots that you can come in and we'll sit down and do a video conference and go over stuff. What am I missing? Hey, Holly. Ryan, my 5.3 ate itself. Trunnion rockers broke. Sent metal through the engine. Timing chain got into the damper and broke a chunk off of it. Ate that as well. Well, it's time to build back stronger, faster. What up, Moto? What up, PNW Car Mods? Am I process certified for the application of OKI Chrome? No. I don't even know what that is. I will tell you this much, Andrew. I got the wrong mounting bracket for it. It's probably my fault. But I went ahead and hooked it up, and this one cost a little bit more money than I wanted to spend for a head unit. But if you talk about head units back in the day, it's still not that expensive. You know, it's like $400. But just hooking it up and playing with it real quick tonight, dude, is super responsive. I'm pretty happy with it. I'll do a video on it, specifically a video on setting up the Shadow Dash MS so you can tie it to a Mega Squirt, but you'll get to see how it all reacts. I'm pretty stoked about it. Like, I had my doubts. Now that I've got it in there and I've kind of played with it, I was like, yeah, this is going to be dope. So, almost to the point where I'm like, do I really need to mount gauges in this thing? Yeah, James, you know, we've been firing off a little bit early on Thursday nights. If I come in at 7:54 and there's some people in the chat room, I'm just going to fire it up. We've been starting early, going long. You know, you should have your Goat Rope Garage notifications on anyway, so you never miss my beautiful face. And if you watched the latest video, you saw my beautiful gut of my winter weight. Oh, God, I'm chubby. Ugh. That was with a trunnion kit. Ooh, that's even worse, Ryan. Sorry to hear it. Yeah, I'll be kind of interested to know. What up, Jonathan? Good to see you, man. You know it. You know it. Hey, Danny. What you doing, brother? How many coconuts is it carrying, Schmidt? So, do you know offhand if there's an aftermarket ECM for an 86 Firebird? No, I do not. But there's got to be standalones that would work with it, depending on what you're wanting to do. I mean, hell, I threw a Holly on a 72 Nova. Working on LSA blower LS1. Am interested in putting an LS3 MAF on it. Is there a blanket horsepower limitation for that MAF at the 512 grams per second limitation? That's a good question. So what you can do if we hold on, there's some math. We'll get into some math here. Math on the garage. Let me get a calculator out here. Let's do grams per second, and we're looking at a 512, which is 4,063 pounds per hour. Open up our calculator. If we take our 4063 divided by 8 cylinders, that gets us down to 507. If we divide that by 14.7, well, actually, we don't want to do it by 14.7. Let's do it at 8.3. 61 pounds per hour of fuel is where you're going to top out at. And so, if you use a fuel calculator, know that 60 pound per hour injectors are going to max out 512 grams per second on that mass airflow system. We can pull up fuel horsepower calculator. Fuel injector clinic. And if we go 8 cylinders. Why is this not working? Fuel pressure at 58 psi. 800 cc injector, turbocharged, duty cycle 90. Why is this thing? Oh, this thing's messed up. This calculator is all wonky. 58, 800 cc's, 800 horsepower. There we go. 800 horsepower is going to be your cap. General area. That's probably asking a bit much from it. So we'll say in a perfect world, the 512 grams per second limitation is going to cap out at 800 horsepower. Okay. Oh, there you go. Fire up the fire stick in the man cave. Watching on the big screen. That's what I'm talking about. What am I? What up, Sam Z? Did you get my email? Got the torque table closed, but not fully opening the throttle body below 3,000. Check your driver demand table, Danny. I've used Michigan Speed in the past, but I've not put that many miles on, so I can't say anything one way or another. E equals MC square. Any reviews on Snake Eater Performance 1500 injectors? Rock roll. That is what's installed in the Nova right now. And I have Snake Eaters ready to go for the Typhoon. So, if that means anything to you, some math tables will. Yes, the early math tables max out at 512. What up, Dan? Wideband started logging 9.9 out of nowhere. MPVI1 logging through serial port. Any common solutions? So, James, I'm guessing you mean that the gauge is reading differently and the wideband's flatlined at 9.9? Tell us more about the Typhoon. Okay, it's 93. GMC Typhoon. Let me see if I can find some more pictures of it. It is number 39 built that year. White on white, black interior, all that stuff's basically stock. Let me see if I can do this. And pow, 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 pow. She's clean, not bad. So, interior's in good condition. Ride's decent. It's a little bit wallowy. You know, it needs new shocks. Needs new shocks for sure. I probably paid more than it was worth, but, you know, I'm pretty good at doing that. Had a new heater core, which is awesome, because I don't want to deal. It's a common, heater core failures are common on these, so it had a new heater core, has a new turbo, like I care about that. In fact, I got a bigger turbo coming tomorrow with a new 3-inch downpipe and 3-inch cat back exhaust and test pipe and all that fun stuff. It's finding parts is kind of the hardest parts. You know, Typhoon specific parts are being hard to find because there were 2 companies that were making them. One of them's basically quit making stuff. They created a kit that you can build to drive your Yeti cooler around, and so they decided to quit making Cyclone Typhoon parts. Sucks. But once you get beyond kind of this stuff right over here, it's just a 4.3 liter. You know, it's the small block derived 4.3 liter. They were called the Vortex, but the heads are different because the Vortex heads really came into play around 93. You can put Vortex heads on this. We'll talk about that later on because we'll probably go to that mod, but you have to mod the intake manifold. That's where things get a little bit dicey because these have a special intake manifold that was only on the Typhoons and Cyclones. All-wheel drive has the same all-wheel drive as the GMC Astro vans of the period. But, you know, other than that, I mean, we've got performance mods coming on. We've got that Performa build is building us a transmission right now. Doing anything with the internals? No funny muffler, because I don't think that we're going to be trying to make ludicrous power out of this thing. I think we're going to cap it out around 20 psi, which these things are perfectly fine running those. You know, they're built enough to handle that, and you know. You'll be perfectly fine with that one, MPMW. Sam Z, do not modify the virtual torque tables until you're done with the airflow calculations, because those you'll chase your tail. Once you get the airflow calculations done, you can look at your virtual torque tables on those platforms and see if they're causing issues with your throttle body, and that's your best indication. And then after that, you can go and make some adjustments. A bit confused on the math tuning. People say it's easier than SD, which makes sense. But if you still have math, don't you have to tune both SD and math twice the work? Yeah, I mean, you should definitely tune both SD and math. If you go SD only, you're correct. You're only going to have to tune SD. Now, if you are utilizing the math, the SD tune doesn't have to be as perfect. There's a little bit more room for error in there because you're going to be relying on the math more than the SD table. You know, the prices aren't too crazy. They're in the, generally the Typhoons are in the 20 to 30 range for decent ones, and the Cyclones have gone through the roof. If you can find a Cyclone under 30 grand that's not a complete and total crap box, you're doing pretty good. 441 Stroker C6 Z06. What should I do for a startup tune? Allergy, probably what I would do is just calculate the difference on displacement and just add that much to your airflow tables for starters. You know, the ring gaps are decently tight on these things. They're not as wide as you would think that they would be, but we don't worry about ring gaps around here. We just throw methanol injection on it. Keep the intake cool. You're not going to butt the rings up. Dude, James, as far as I can tell, they build the best 4L60 out there. So I watched a video of that diesel with the 4L60 pulling 20,000 pounds in a sled pull, and that sold me on it. Is it possible to tune Snake Eater's 1500s injections on a stock ECU? Yeah, it is. You might have a hard time getting the duty cycle down at idle. Might have a rich idle, but they will tune out. If you're not having any issues, should you mess with the virtual torque tables? No. No, 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 no. Wow. I blew the ringlands out because I had a complete set of injectors shut off while there was a complete set of secondary injectors still flowing fuel. That's a quick way to go lean and really create a hot cylinder temp. Yeah, they've got one that's been running behind a 1200 horsepower GTO for 3 years without a rebuild. So we'll see. We'll see. The money wasn't bad for one. You know, for about $4 grand, you can get a built 4L60. Not doing the black edition. Oh man. Yeah. They're saying that the new black edition is going to be rated for 1400 horsepower at the wheels. Whenever I go out there, I'm going out there to pick it up in person because they're a couple hours away from me. I'll shoot a video and get Ryan. Ryan's probably the guy that you've seen on their YouTube, the long hair tattooed guy. We'll talk to Ryan a little bit about what he did for our transmission and just talk about transmissions in general. They're very, very straightforward about everything, so that's what makes me more anxious to use somebody like that. That they basically put most of their stuff out there except for what is proprietary. MDO, man, that really depends on like what you're doing, like how much boost you're going to run to. If you're going to be doing like 7-8 psi, you'll be fine. Hey, ICT, I enjoy it, man. I don't want anybody to let me forget that I've blown a motor. I mean, it was a stock bottom L83 that was running over 20 pounds of boost. I'm pretty sure I'm the first person to do that. What up, Scott? I don't know if there's very many other people that's taken an L83 to 26 pounds of boost at this point in time. Oh, speaking of which, the Super Auto will be probably buttoned up this weekend. Keep your eyes peeled. I'm going to throw it on eBay. Top dollar gets it. No reserve. It's going no reserve. If it sells for 20 bucks, I don't care as long as somebody comes and picks it up. Sweet rock roll. I'm hoping to get a little bit more than $500 out of it because it's worth at least $500 if you pull the drivetrain and scrap the rest of it. Do a giveaway. We're not quite to that level. If we had 200,000 subscribers, I would consider doing a giveaway. The Super Auto's for sale. Yeah, let's start the exclamation point raffle. Ran Snake Eater 850s on 411 with the LSA. They're a decent injector. We're a pain in the ass off throttle and idle. Yeah. Dealing with the transient's not worth it. FIC's fixed, 60s fixed all that. How can HP Tuner protect for overboost? Also, does traction control work? Working on a Mustang with a Coyote. I'm sorry, for one. Redline. Those Mustangs, man. So many VE tables with those dual overhead cam motors. For overboost, if it's naturally aspirated from the factory, you're probably not going to have any kind of protections in there because they're not going to be part of the operating system that's in there. Traction control should work though, and traction control, depending on the platform, is going to look at quite a few different things, but mainly it's going to look at RPM, rate of change, wheel speed, stuff like that, and they're going to be timing. Almost all traction controls are going to be based off of timing, then throttle. So if you ever hear me talk about fast and slow adjustments, things like that, specifically in the torque world, you've got a fast adjustment, which is going to be a timing-based adjustment. Then you have a slow adjustment, which is an airflow, aka a throttle adjustment. So if you're dealing with things like idle as a great example, your idle correction has a fast correction, and it has a slow correction. So if we are going outside, say you have an error ratio of this much range and it's supposed to be in there, the further out, the more that it's going to go towards slow correction. The closer to the error is going to go over to the small correction. So I don't know if there's, honestly, if you're worried about overboost, I would look at aftermarket solutions for overboost. And there's plenty of them out there that you can run, fail-safe gauges, stuff like that, where, standalone boost controllers that are, that aren't going to help if an overboost, if you're overpowering the wastegate, which, is a lot of times going to be the issue. But you can look at specific devices for like the Lingenfelter timing. The two-step setups on that has an additional input for timing cut where you can do a solid timing retard of like 10 degrees on it through an input. You can tie those back to a fail-safe gauge. And yeah, man, this is my favorite old shirt, the old rocket with the wings. Foot brake for Rocky Mountain Race Week. Yeah, we're not gonna worry about trans brake launching this thing. We're just going to foot brake it up to where we can get into some boost and then shoot it. LNC 2000. Yeah, depending on your platform, that's just the standard LS one, if I'm not mistaken, right? What ECU does the Typhoon have? It has an old chip prom. I don't even know what the number would be on it. I am going to do some very minimal videos on chip prom tuning using the Motes unit. If you guys have ever messed with chip prom tuning, you know who Motes is. You can go over to motes.net. And they have a kit that's really kind of a cool kit. And I may throw the stock ECU back in to play with it for a while, called the Auto Prom. And it plugs in, and it literally has a USB device that you plug into that you can make changes on the fly because it acts as the EEPROM chip that's in the ECU. That tends to happen with Smoke Monster sweatshirts. They're so comfy. Dude, I know. I don't want to talk about Holden being gone. Shed a tear for Holden. How come if you turn off and unplug rear O2s, it still show changes when you look at them in HP tuners? I have no clue, Scott. I've never tested that. There's still people that do chip tuning. There's a lot of guys out there that still do chip tuning. And it's just like everything else. You open up the bin file and you have to have, well, it's not like everything else. You have a bin file, and then you have to have a definition file that basically translates the bin file into usable data where you can see tables and things like that to make edits to the tables. And a lot of that speaks a different language than what we do, but the theory is still the same. It's just trying to sort out. So it's the OBD1 era, so pre-96. After in 97 and beyond, basically that's whenever we start getting into OBD2, and that's when we know we start getting into our what we're used to on HP tuners and stuff like that. Yeah, is that company in Denver still importing Utes, I wonder? Going through the process of making them legal? MDO, yeah, I would definitely do math first. I would lower the timing out, do math, SD, then go back in and do timing. Then after you do timing, do a refresh on math and SD just to check, see if they skewed off a little bit. Why not going to Motec or Haltech? We will. Probably not Motec, but Haltech we'll look at. We'll look at ECU Master. The whole purpose of getting this platform is to go through a bunch of different standalones. So probably do, I said ECU Master, Haltech, Max ECU is another one that I'd like to do. And then, you know, I'll take suggestions. I've got to get around. I don't know if I'll do it before Rocky Mountain Race Week, but I need to build a custom harness, and then I'll take that harness to a breakout connection where I can quickly wire in other ECUs. How do you scale the gauge if the tune is from a truck with a different size tanks? Kevin, what year is your truck? There's a lot of different ways, and most of that is not involved on the ECU. Well, on some of them it might be. But as I said, the purpose of it is to get into setting up standalones, getting things running on the standalones, and seeing different standalones. Which means if you're a patron, there's probably a good chance that I will be giving away some standalones after I'm done with them. Will micro squirt work in which way, Rick? Are you asking? Micro squirts are pretty cool little units. We'll actually be doing a micro squirt for our transmission controller since we're going with the 4L60E. Yeah, Mdo, that's good. That's good process to go through. You can feed map signal into your knock sensor and use that as an overboost protection. That's a sweet idea. I really like that. Huh. Look at that. That is Toloco 16, man. Great new approach, man. Thanks for showing up and sharing that. Essentially, that's just going to be, yeah, you'd have to have something in there to be able to set a set point to, because the knock sensor is always going to have some residual stuff. Well, yeah, you'd still have to have a set point to basically activate and active. But that's, man, you should build those. Well, Microsquirt run a GMTBI unit, most likely. Microsquirt, I think, only has 2 injector drivers on it. And so a TBI unit's only going to use 1 injector drive unit. Technically, you can run a Microsquirt out to an 8-cylinder as long as you're running bank to bank. And then the same thing on the spark side. I think it only has 2 spark drivers on it. So you're going to have to do wasted spark, or you're going to have to trigger a coil with a distributor with it. But for the most part, I think a Microsquirt will do that, Steven. ICT car guy is the proper method of advanced time until the knock sensors execute timing and retard. I mean, technically, no. The proper method is to put it on a dyno and see what peak timing is, or peak torque is, and that's your peak timing. But since we don't have access to dynos, that's just kind of what we do. I know. Me too. You know, that would actually be something good to do with those little Canny Logic units. You know, they've got those small Canny Logic chips. I've got some of those down in the garage. Maybe I need to write a program to take a map sensor and scale out knock sensor readings on it. That's sweet. That's such a good idea. Andrew, I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if they wouldn't have expansion modules for extra spark and injector outputs. IMDO, yeah, I'll be at 1.0 for sure. We're still talking about trying to get in on 2.0. I haven't called those guys to see if they have any sponsor slots yet or not. Here next month or so, I'll give them a shout. And if they still have a sponsor slot, I may end up buying up a sponsor slot, and then we'll go to 2.0. Well, and as somebody corrected me, it technically is not open source. It's just that the creators of it will, and this is the microsquirt. I misspoke in my video saying that it is open source. It's not open source per se, but the creators who created all of the stuff for the mega squirts and things like that will license it pretty freely. 2.0 is Oklahoma, Texas, and maybe Kansas, South Kansas. And it's in August or September. One of the lucky ones to make a registration for race week. Perfect. You were one of like 30 people because there was no slots left open. It's just going to be around Dallas. It's like Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Dallas, and South Kansas. I don't think it's Ark City. I think it's another track in the southern part of Kansas. But it'll start and end in Oklahoma, either at Oklahoma City or Noble Raceway. Oh, well, Noble's in Oklahoma City, or Tulsa. So that's the loop that they do, kind of like the same way that they always start in Great Bend, Kansas, and then either go this direction or that direction from Great Bend. Yeah. August sounds miserable for... which is part of the reason why I don't necessarily want to go. Where you at, Funny Muffler? If Pueblo is only 7 hours away, you must be in New Mexico, southern Colorado, something like that. Up through that area is probably down. It's probably not too muggy. Oklahoma generally isn't, well, I guess when I say not that muggy, I'm thinking about the times that I've lived in like Houston, where it's actually just muggy. Hey, I've lived in New Mexico. I've lived in Artesia. Los Lunas. There you go. There you go. Man, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to have air conditioning. After last year, after last year's 1.0 was like 98 degrees. Whew. At that altitude, fuel's just boiling so bad. That reminds me, I need to burn down this tank of gas so I can do a fuel pump swap on the Typhoon. Live an hour from OKC. Where at, Joseph? Muggy is South Florida in August. Yeah, I could only imagine. Like to go to get into Rocky Mountain Race Week? How should I get started? Do Road Week. Do Road Week. Sign up for Road Week. I think they'll basically take anybody for Road Week. Get on the wait list if you want to do Rocky Mountain Race Week, but just go do Road Week. Get exposed to it. You're driving track to track with all the guys that are racing. Oh yeah, I know Lawton. Know Lawton well. But the smoke monster is running 9.5. You wouldn't have noticed the heat. You know, as soon as the tracks open up around here, we'll get that thing out and take it to the track and see what it'll do. I got lazy towards the end of the race season last year. I was so mad after having all those issues at Rocky Mountain Race Week last year that I just didn't want to do anything. Ugh. Does the car need special mods? Not really. Depends on how fast you run. So my tune is from the repository. It's a GMC 1500 2005 model. The tune is for a 26-gallon tank. My truck has a 36 gauge works. Just only goes to 3/4 full on the gauge, even if it's full. 2005s. Check underneath the... Oh, help me out, guys. Which tab is it? 2005. Let me open an editor and look. 2005s might be one of them that you can scale the tank. Be under the fuel system or the system tab. I can't remember. Yep, system. Well, I said I can't remember if the fuel scaling's on the system or the 2005 Silverado 2500. Oh, yep. There you go. Underneath fuel system, fuel tank gauge, capacity 26. Update it there. That help you out, Kevin? No, Funny Muffler, they have classes. I think the slowest class is 14 seconds. So they have index classes. It's going to be 14, 13, 12, 11. And then after that, you're getting into small block naturally aspirated, big block naturally aspirated, stick shift, unlimited. If you go over to the Rocky Mountains website, they actually have a bunch of stuff. What up, Shane? Enjoy a beer on me, brother. Have an HP tuner's question. Try doing a speedo calibration by adjusting the tire size on an 01 Tahoe. It will kill the throttle body if you go past 25 with disabling traction control. It's got 24 inches. You should be doing speedo calculations off of revolutions, though. So, find your gear and tire size revolutions per mile stuff and try and update that. Let me see. No, there's plenty of slow cars there. The most competition is like half of the cars, if not more, are going to be in the 11, 12, 13, and 14 second classes. You know, that's going to be the hardest classes to win because there's going to be 15, 20 cars in each of those classes. Whereas like whenever I was in Big Block NA last year, there was like 8 of us. You know, the super fast guys like Doug at Motion Raceworks and Cletus are going to be in whatever the unlimited class is. And there's probably about 10 of those guys that have cars that are going to be running down to the 850 limit. And I don't know if they have a class. I don't think they had a class last year that was running faster than 850, except for unlimited. There's an 850 class for guys with 850 cages. And then there's kind of, I don't think there's any kind of index or anything like that. It's just basically fastest average on those stuff. So, okay, it's 8:32. We are going to wrap up. I've got a couple questions here. And then we're going to call it a night. Okay, so on Gen 4, where should I look to smooth out a stumble when letting off the throttle? Only happens during a full let off, then catches doesn't completely die. Moto Brewmaster, did you turn DFCO back on after you got done tuning? I would try that. Make sure that it's just not stumbling on some additional fuel that's getting in there because DFCO is still going. What horsepower gains can you expect from a tune on a bone stock Gen 353, assuming you're running 93 octane? I don't know, probably conservative 15 to 20 horsepower, I'd say. I'd say about every factory tune leaves 15 to 20 horsepower on the table for naturally aspirated setups. See you, Schmidt. Thank you again to Loco 16 to Loco. Last one, 454 on an FI Tech TH350 to 4L60E. Possible to run the trans off HP tuners only. I don't see why not, as long as you're providing the signals that it needs. And on the 4L60E, there's only going to be like 2 signals that you need that would normally come from the ECU. And I'm guessing the Phytech could probably emulate or output those on some of the spare outputs. So look into... I would probably look at a 4L60E standalone controller, wiring harness, and see what inputs it's saying to add to the standalone controller. It might be probably going to be throttle position sensor is going to be the big one, because that's going to be what controls kick down and stuff like that. So you'll have to get a TPS back to it at least. But other than that, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. There will be something else most likely, but your big one's going to be TPS. Should you turn DFCO back on after tuning? Yes, unless you want pops and bangs. Thank you, Tucalo. Tucalo. I don't know why I'm dyslexic. I've turned out that I've been dyslexic. Wait a second. Before I jump off here, let me tell you guys what happened Friday morning. Whoever's still here. We got like 3 more minutes as I show up at the airport at 5:45 in the morning to get on my flight. Fly down. And so I'm sitting there at my gate, mind my own business, and there's the gate right beside me is I'm flying into Atlanta. The gate right beside me is boarding a flight to Atlanta, right? I'm like, cool. They're flying to Atlanta. My plane's boarding here in about 30 minutes. Well, suddenly I look around. I'm the only guy in this whole area. So I pull my phone out and I pull my boarding pass up on my phone and I look at it. My flight boards at 7 o'clock p.m. So I'm about 13 hours early at this point in time. So I hurry up and I run over to the other gate that's loading a flight to Atlanta. It's like, listen, I screwed up. I'm supposed to be flying out this morning, and I booked a flight for this afternoon. And the nice lady behind the desk goes, we've got 3 minutes until we close the door. Let me see if I can get you on this flight. And she was able to get me on that flight. So I actually left 20 minutes earlier than I thought I was going to. Oh, man. Yeah, it could have been a very rough day. The next flight out was going to be at 11 o'clock in the morning, so I would have at least been there from 6 until 11. But everything worked out all right, so I thought you guys get a kick out of it. Listen, I want to thank everybody, as always, for coming out to another Thursday night. I will for sure see you guys next Thursday. Long weekend because we get President's Day off. 3-day weekend, so we're going to be working in the garage. There will be some video content coming out over some of the stuff. And you guys know the drill. Thanks for stopping by the garage. Remember, ABT, always be tuning.